There's a saying in video game industry marketing material, and I'm sure most of you are accustomed to it. It's the infamous "from the makers of insert popular game." It's supposed to get gamers excited for future products from the studio because of prior work that they've done, and this is a valid way for some studios to market their games. For others, it's a bold-faced lie. The gaming industry and really the tech landscape overall has had an outrageous amount of turnover compared to other fields. So when you see from the makers of The Witcher 3, well, as of 2022, nearly two-thirds of the studio is gone. Similar story with BioWare, similar story with Obsidian Entertainment, and very much a similar story with Blizzard. It's why when fans demand or want sequels to popular games, it's important to realize these studios aren't monoliths, and over the course of the last decade, many of them exist in name only, with the core creatives that jump-started your favorite franchises no longer being around. Blizzard is the perfect example of this, and the destructive turn that Overwatch 2 has taken since its reveal showcases how a vision can be lost, one that was always a bit confusing, and more importantly when money becomes the primary driving factor for a sequel's existence. A problem within Blizzard, as the Activision side of the company took control and destroyed what was left, all happening well before Microsoft acquired the company. There was a time in which Blizzard inspired with its creativity. Those days are long gone. Overwatch 2 initially was supposed to have a shared multiplayer environment with the original Overwatch where no one gets left behind. Overwatch players would get to play on the brand new Overwatch 2 maps and as the new heroes. And yeah, that didn't happen, as Overwatch was just shut down and the franchise went free to play. It never exactly made 100% sense how this would work, but Blizzard's Jeff Kaplan reassured fans at the time that this wouldn't be a conventional sequel, but would feel like a sequel-sized product. There was going to be a major PvE focus, there would be story missions and hero missions, the real main selling point of the sequel, and it almost entirely collapsed. They spent years working on it, years hyping it on up, and it resulted in nearly the entire ambition being scrapped. Hero missions never happened, story missions were scaled back and resulted in a first set being sold for $15 that nobody was interested in, thus resulting in Blizzard pulling the plug completely on this PvE focus just recently. Loot boxes were to be replaced by an in-game store that somehow ended up being far more greedy and controversial. Later they were bizarrely changing from 6v6 to 5v5 PvP because, as Blizzard explained, sometimes it's just hard to track what 11 other players are doing on the battlefield. Removing two of those simplifies everything, and it allows players to understand everything that's happening around them and make better choices because of it. And a few years later, it looks like Blizzard is already preparing the move back to 6v6 PvP. Even Jeff Kaplan, the game director of all of this, jumped ship mid-development. Pure chaos. And throughout the years of this development chaos, Overwatch as a product suffered tremendously. First, the original game, as Blizzard abandoned new content for a few years to concentrate on the sequel's development, and then now Overwatch 2, as the game just doesn't have a real identity or purpose. It's a shittier version of the original game, just with an overpriced in-game shop. And I bring up this overview of Overwatch 2 to understand the modern Blizzard, which appears to be completely lost. Each new game, each new release has followed this same chaos. Even Diablo 4, which released mostly positive reviews last year, suffered from incompetency from Blizzard, resulting in a player revolt to how Blizzard was handling the live service. After a successful launch with millions of players engaged with Diablo 4, Blizzard introduced what some consider one of the worst game patches ever. It basically decimated multiple builds, including kicking the lowly sorcerer while they're down and tearing apart some of the most successful barbarian builds around. Players were pissed. They review bombed the game on Metacritic and accused Blizzard of trying to artificially bump up the amount of time a player will spend in-game in an attempt to boost overall hours played and increase the likelihood of cosmetic sales. Players were reaching max level too fast, and that's a big no-no in a live service like this in which player engagement is the ultimate goal. Blizzard responded to this anger by pretty much agreeing that they screwed up, which led to them rolling back the changes. Associate Community Manager Director Adam Fletcher said in a statement, "We know it is bad, we know it's not fun, we ourselves know that it's not the greatest play experience for players out there. Overall, Season 1 of Diablo 4 was a mess, and player confidence was as low as it could get, with many players choosing to say goodbye." This trend really has only continued in the months to follow, with there indeed being some highs and of course lows with subsequent seasons. There's also been a flurry of controversy with the game's greedy monetization, with Blizzard being blasted for having nearly $400 worth of cosmetics available day one, and then later for selling portal colors for $30, a horse mount for $70, and exploring the idea of selling an expansion for $100 in a leaked survey. Cha-ching, cha-ching, indeed. While Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4 are the recent big examples of the chaos and decline of Blizzard, it has been non-stop in the last decade. You can look to World of Warcraft and players upset with how Blizzard handled Battle of Azeroth's new gear system. At the time, the newly introduced Azerite armor was confusing, unrewarding, and lackluster. Players voiced their frustration, and Blizzard didn't make any positive adjustments based on that feedback. Anger boiling up for weeks and zero communication from Blizzard about fixing an aspect that was turning opinions negative on the entire new expansion. Eventually, Blizzard WoW director did apologize and promised to do better. Then in early 2020, we had the Warcraft 3 Reforged disaster. As reported by PC Gamer, Blizzard promised players that this remaster would serve as an update to the original 2002 real-time strategy game with HD graphics, re-recorded cutscenes, as well as an upgraded user interface and world editor. What gamers received, however, was maps that looked significantly worse than the 2018 reveal. Only 3 of the game's 60+ single-player campaign missions received noticeable changes. The re-recorded voiceovers were scrapped entirely. Reforged cinematics with better camera movement and animations did not exist. Most upsetting of all, features that had been present in Warcraft 3 for decades, like clans and offline play, were missing. The game itself was suffering from performance issues. The new EULA also gave Blizzard full ownership of any mods that were made in Reforged, which greatly upset Warcraft 3's modding community, and because Warcraft 3 Reforged effectively replaced Warcraft 3 entirely, there was no way to go back and play the original without buying a physical copy. Blizzard went into full damage control during this debacle, acknowledging that this launch disaster was a hard week for them, and eventually offered refunds and promising that features like clans were coming in the future. An investigative report later from Bloomberg indicated that the remaster's development was an absolute mess that was ruined by mismanagement and their corporate overlord at the time, Activision, wanting Blizzard to prioritize their true money-making games, thus leading to Warcraft 3 being rescoped and given a lower budget. It was also revealed that Blizzard had an internal post-mortem document which stated, "We took pre-orders when we knew the game wasn't ready yet, and that the company should in future resist the urge to ship an unfinished product because of financial pressure." Senior voices in the department warned leadership about the impending disaster of Warcraft on several occasions over the last year or so, but were ignored. A truly astonishing admission that was exposed. Then in 2021, there's Diablo 2 Resurrected, which to itself had some massive launch issues, specifically with its technical problems. Players had their characters and progress disappearing after play sessions, forcing them to start over again. Other issues like a character lockout bug were also widely reported, and Blizzard was quick to address the issue, except days later, it remained for many players. Fortunately, eventually this was resolved. In 2022, Heroes of the Storm, a MOBA from Blizzard, ceased all content development. This was a couple of years after the MOBA was already scaled back drastically, with the dev team downsized and esports plans scrapped in 2018, a decision that came abruptly and without any notice for the many pro players that were in preparation mode. Also in 2022, Blizzard finally released Diablo Immortal, their mobile Diablo game, which everyone hated when it was announced.
Wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones.
Everyone knew it would be a pay-to-win cash grab disaster, and it was exactly just that. Want to max out a character? Players quickly discovered that would cost you over $500,000. This of course led to another massive player revolt, with the game being review bombed on Metacritic with a historic 0.2 score out of 10. Many players brought up the bullshit lies that Blizzard developers had said about the game's monetization, such as a few months before release, game director Wyatt Cheng saying not being able to buy gear or XP remains important to the team, except that was a huge lie, as legendary gems essentially were gear offering massive gameplay advantages and could be purchased with real-world money. Streamers and players also highlighted the difference of 2 dungeon runs, one that's paid and one that's free. The difference was that spending $20 on a single dungeon earned you an outrageous amount of valuable loot, while the free one got you basically nothing. Unfortunately, Cheng then followed this up with, with labeling criticism of the game's monetization and his earlier remarks about Gear as misinformation, saying in a tweet, "I don't like it if information is misleading. There's a difference between players liking or not liking a game based on its merits, which I can accept. Not every game is for everybody, versus liking or not liking a game based on misinformation surrounding it." This fucker didn't have anything to say about players needing to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a complete build though. Blizzard CEO at the time, Mike Ybarra, also later defended the game's pay-to-win monetization by saying to the LA Times, "When we think about monetization at the very highest level it was, how do we give a free Diablo experience to hundreds of millions of people where they can literally do 99.5% of everything in the game?" And he further added in defense of the microtransactions that the monetization comes in at the end game. The philosophy was always to lead with great gameplay and make sure that hundreds of millions of people can go through the whole campaign without any costs. From that standpoint, I feel really good about it as an introduction to Diablo. The next year, Blizzard followed up Diablo Immortal with another mobile experience, this time for Warcraft, and again with despicable monetization. As of 2024, Blizzard had spent 6 years of development on a new survival game, until they didn't. Despite early positive internal impressions, the project was suddenly cancelled and the entire team working on it was let go. The game was called Odyssey and was reportedly cancelled because of development struggles around the game's engine. In 2024, there's also been anger surrounding changes made to WoW Classic. Blizzard promised to keep characters on the new Classic era realms just as it was, and unfortunately it doesn't appear they were keeping it as intended, which led to protests. In recent days even, it's been revealed by Jason Schreier, for the third time Blizzard is trying to develop a StarCraft shooter, and over the years there's a lengthy graveyard of unannounced canceled projects, including a space vampire game, sci-fi Diablo, the post-apocalyptic game Nomad, an early third-person camera version of Diablo 4 called Hades, a World of Warcraft take on Pokemon Go called Orbits, a Helldivers version of WoW, a God of War style action WoW game called Andromeda, and the Minecraft meets WoW game Avalon. Warcraft 3 Reforged, Diablo Immortal, Overwatch 2, and everything we just touched on. This is the modern Blizzard. Each of their products have been mired in controversy and their reputation has been shot down the toilet. It's one thing to have bad and disastrous games, it's another to compromise your own values, which clearly was happening numerous times over the years. In 2019, notably a Hong Kong Hearthstone player, Blitzchung, said during a tournament post-match interview, "Liberate Hong Kong, the revolution of our times." Blizzard the following day came down with a harsh punishment, saying Blitzchung was banned from the current tournament, would forfeit $4,000 in prize money, and would be banned from other Grandmaster tournaments for 1 year. They cited a rule that prohibits Grandmaster players from offending the public, making political speech, or impugning Blizzard's image. Blizzard additionally terminated the contract with the two streamcasters that had been conducting the interview. This led to international outrage, with it becoming quite clear that Blizzard was scared about ruining their relationship with the Chinese government. Thus, they felt it was okay to ignore their stupid fake values. As noted by PC Gamer, employees staged a walkout in protest of the decision, while outraged players organized boycotts across all of Blizzard's games. Major Hearthstone casters resigned, sponsors like Mitsubishi pulled their support from future events, and American politicians penned a bipartisan letter condemning Blizzard's actions. Subsequent Hearthstone tournaments stopped conducting player interviews or using webcams to show players after teams held up signs supporting Hong Kong and Blitzchung, while human rights advocacy groups called on Blizzard to overturn the suspension. About a week following this incident, Blizzard and J. Allen Brack released a statement announcing they were reducing Blitzchung's punishment and granting him his prize money, but standing by their original assessment that the pro player violated their rules and needed to be punished. Brack went on to say China had nothing to do with the move that they did, citing their make-believe values of thinking globally, leading responsibly, and every voice matters, but tournaments need to be about the games only, said Brack. Play nice, play fair. It includes pre- and post-match conduct, he said. These remarks were again condemned by much of the games industry. At BlizzCon 2019, mass protests emerged outside, and right before the keynote presentation began, Blizzard president at the time, J. Allen Brack, pathetically took the stage and issued a meaningless, stupid non-apology.
When I think about what I'm most unhappy about, there's really two things. The first one is we didn't live up to the high standards that we really set for ourselves. And the second is we failed in our purpose. And for that, I am sorry, and I accept accountability.
Later, in an interview with PC Gamer, Brack reiterated that Blizzard would be standing by Blitzchung's ban of 6 months. Brack denied claims that Blizzard's decision was influenced by its Chinese publishing partner NetEase. I mean, that's what happened. However, Brack confirmed NetEase was consulted and were behind the infamous Chinese social media Hearthstone post that condemned Blitzchung and said they would always respect and defend China. Which he'll never admit it, but we all know their interest with China is exactly why they were so harsh and still never gave in to the pressure to drop the punishment. American political issue? Speak your mind, all voices matter, blah 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 blah. Chinese political issue? Deafening silence. Truly one of gaming's most disgusting ordeals that somehow got topped soon after, with a massive lawsuit filed in 2021 against Activision Blizzard that exposed years of misconduct and abuse that had been enabled and ignored by Blizzard leaders. As noted by PC Gamer, the lawsuit filed by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing claimed that employees had faced constant harassment, including groping, comments, and advances due to a frat boy workplace culture. The lawsuit was the result of a 2-year investigation in which the department claims to have uncovered many instances where employees, particularly women and minorities, were discriminated against, harassed, and denied opportunities that were instead handed to less qualified candidates. The lawsuit includes anonymous testimonies, including one instance where an employee allegedly shut their eyes forever, you know what I mean, on a work trip after being subject by harassment from a manager. Blizzard president J. Allen Brack and former creative director Alex Afrasbi were 2 managers named directly in the suit. It alleges that Afrasbi harassed several women while Brack allowed toxic behavior to fester within the company and did little to stop it. Activision Blizzard leadership vehemently denied the lawsuit and called its claims meritless, which outraged many current and former employees who felt that they were being silenced. In the weeks following news of the lawsuit, dozens of former and current employees began speaking up and sharing their own experiences of harassment and toxicity at the company. Over 2,500 employees signed an open letter condemning Activision Blizzard leadership and demanding accountability, and employees also staged a walkout in protest. More and more disturbing stories would be exposed, and some notable current and former Blizzard execs would also come forward acknowledging that they had failed so many employees. The executive that was thrown to the wolves, or simply put, the fall guy, was J. Allen Brack, who resigned in disgrace from his position in August of 2021. He was replaced by 2 Blizzard executives, Jen O'Neill and Mike Ybarra, who were to serve as co-leaders of the company, and well, that didn't last long, as O'Neill left a few months later. In bombshell emails reported by the Wall Street Journal, O'Neill jumped ship as she professed a lack of faith in Activision's leadership to turn the culture around. The email revealed that she had been harassed the company earlier in her career. It also revealed that she was allegedly being paid less than Ybarra. "I have been tokenized, marginalized, and discriminated against," the Wall Street Journal says that she wrote. In early 2024, just weeks after being photographed alongside Xbox head Phil Spencer and talking about his excitement of working under Microsoft now, following the completion of Activision Blizzard being acquired by Microsoft, Ybarra quit. In a statement, he said, "It's time to become Blizzard's biggest fan from the outside." Alongside this news, it was also announced by Microsoft that 1,900 Activision Blizzard and Xbox employees were being terminated. Johanna Ferry soon after was announced as the new president of Blizzard. And the thing is, what is left of Blizzard? What confidence is left that this Blizzard can deliver with any of their future content and games? I started off this video mentioning that these game companies aren't monoliths, and specifically with Blizzard, Rob Pardo, vice president of game design, left the company after 17 years in 2014. Nick Carpenter, vice president of art and cinematic development, spent over 20 years at Blizzard and left in 2016. Chris Sagady, vice president and senior game producer for all of Blizzard's RTS titles, left in 2019 after more than 20 years with the company. Dustin Browder, game director for StarCraft 2 and its expansions, left in 2019 after more than a decade with Blizzard. Ben Brode, game director for Hearthstone, left in 2018 after about 15 years. Eric Dodds, another game director of Hearthstone and developer on many other games, left after more than 20 years in 2019. Brian Sosa, veteran 3D artist and animator, left in 2019 after about 20 years. Samwise Didier, senior art director at Blizzard for 32 years, left in late 2023. John Haidt, WoW general manager, left the company in 2024 after more than a decade of service. Steve Denuser, WoW narrative director for nearly a decade, quietly departed in 2024. Brian Halinka, lead combat designer for WoW, left in 2023 after 11 years working at Blizzard. Scott Mercer, veteran WoW and Overwatch designer, left Blizzard in 2023 after 26 years. Other veteran devs Tim Morton, Kevin Dong, Ray Gresko, Liu, Glenn Rain, Omar Gonzalez, Dave Kozak, Michael Chu, David Kim, Eric Braddock, Brandy Camel, and Jeff Goodman are among big names that departed in the last couple of years. Alan Adham, co-founder and chief design officer, was with Blizzard for more than 2 decades. He left in early 2024. Frank Pierce, co-founder and chief development officer, was with Blizzard for almost 30 years and departed in 2019. Mike Morhaime, co-founder and president for 20 years, left in 2018. A lot of high-profile names, and there are many, many more that can be brought up, but the most high-profile besides the co-founders, and the one that received a gasp from the gaming community, was in 2021 when Overwatch game director, lead designer, and Blizzard vice president Jeff Kaplan announced he was leaving the company after 19 years. This sudden, shocking announcement came in the middle of Overwatch 2's chaotic development and made many wonder how bad is it at Blizzard internally that he felt he had to give up and abandon his vision for Overwatch 2. An answer we still don't have a couple of years later, and maybe one we'll never get. A source within Blizzard told IGN about Kaplan's departure that he was the last person that we would have conversations about how long is he gonna last, because he's the last big blow. So to some degree, now that he's gone, I don't even know who else would make that big of a wave. I don't even think you'll hear about anybody else of that magnitude. The mass exodus at Blizzard has only continued. The biggest, brightest names that were responsible for the beloved Blizzard titles are mostly gone. Blizzard is dead. And the past half-decade is evidence that we have entered a new destructive age in which we move controversy to controversy, with this once beloved company that doesn't have a real identity in 2024. On their website, Blizzard still has their values. Gameplay first, you mean the empty promises over the years. Commit to quality, you mean the buggy dumpster fires. Every voice matters, except I suppose when it comes to China. Lead responsibly, says the company, which had numerous leaders taking part in and enabling widespread misconduct and abuse. The Blizzard of old's image is forever damaged as the recent allegations go back many, many years. But even so, the current Blizzard stands for absolutely nothing and can't be trusted to innovate or deliver the high-quality content that made them a household name decades ago. The true Blizzard is dead, and just a reflection of the average soulless corporate game company that is a shell of itself and exists in name only. Many examples of that these days. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on modern Blizzard down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video, or if you found any informative value. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.